And the brain is incredibly more sophisticated than the process of creating these holograms that you're seeing here. This is a computer image of a city, a generated image of a city. Again, looks three-dimensional, even though it's not. And that's what we're doing all the time, creating or interpreting, decoding energy fields in the brain into a holographic reality. We see them as buildings and street scenes and people, but outside of us they are energy fields, because that's what we are, that's what everything is, energy, consciousness, awareness. What we're actually doing in this world, in effect, is experiencing a virtual reality game, where we're looking into a world and thinking it's real, when it's just an illusory reality that we're creating in our heads. Now, one of the amazing characteristics of holograms is that every part of the hologram contains a smaller version of the whole. If you get a holographic print and you cut it into 4, then you put the laser beam on each of the 4 quarters, you don't get a quarter part of the picture, you get a quarter-size picture of the whole picture. It's an amazing characteristic that no matter how much you play around with it, it will always give you the whole picture, no matter what part you choose to use. Now, because the body is a hologram, and every part of the body hologram is a smaller version of the whole, that's where alternative healing methods come from, like reflexology, acupuncture, and these other healing methods. The reason they can find points in the feet that represent the whole body in different parts of the body, the reason they can find points in the ear that represent all parts of the body, and indeed everywhere else, is because the body is a hologram, and therefore every part of the hologram is a smaller version of the whole, and that's how this is possible. We're using the holographic reality to heal the whole body by using a part of the body. Because of the connection, one affects the whole. Because although it's a smaller part of the hologram, it is in fact the whole hologram. The DNA is a crystalline receiver-transmitter of information. We are receiving information and we are transmitting information and we are holding information. And it's done through the DNA and other related parts of the computer. This is what an article in the San Francisco Chronicle said. DNA is a universal software code. From bacteria to humans, the basic instructions for life are written with the same language. Every form of life, what we call physical life, is made up of DNA that has 4 codes, A, C, G, and T, and the difference between a mouse and me is the way that these codes are put together and relate to each other. It's a universal software code. This article said it, even though it wasn't talking about what I'm talking about. That's exactly what it is. And interestingly, when you see the 4 codes put together in their various sequences, which manifest as different physical forms, it always reminds me of the Matrix and the numbers and figures in the Matrix movie on their computer screens. Because if you look at it in the Matrix movie, when they looked at computer screens, they were looking at street scenes and situations in what we call this reality, because they were decoding the mathematical codes of what they call the Matrix, the illusory reality, to see, like we do, to see a reality that we think is a world. We are a computer at the body level decoding these things and creating this reality in our heads. Interestingly, television is based on the same thing. This guy, Jean Fourier, he developed something that became known as Fourier transforms, which was basically a mathematical understanding which allows pictures to be taken, turned into a frequency form, broadcast from the transmitter, and then decoded by the television into pictures. You know, in In this room now where I'm standing are all those radio and television stations broadcasting to this area. Maybe Friends is on now, or maybe it's the news. But I can't see the bloody news. I can't see Friends. But if I get something that can decode those frequencies that exist here, I can suddenly watch Friends or the news, or I can listen to the radio. It's decoding those things into something that is tangible to us. That's what we're doing through the brain. The same thing, decoding frequencies into a reality that we think is around us, but is actually only in here. The matrix. This matrix is this illusory world that we get caught in. And what is the matrix? I've done a lot of thinking about this. The matrix, this reality that we're experiencing, is a holographic version of the internet. There's a very interesting and very pertinent question which people ask. I asked it myself many times. All right, mate, we're creating our own reality, all right? Okay, yeah. Then why can I see the same light that you can see? Why can I see the same theater that you can see? Why can everyone who walks in here see basically the same backdrop? Why can we both see the same car going past? We might not agree whether we like it or not, but we can see the same car. Because through the DNA, the computer, we are locked into a holographic internet, which has come under the name of the Matrix. When you log onto the internet in China, or South Africa, or America, or Britain, or anywhere else, you might have a very different computer, i.e. race, whatever you want to call it, but you are logging in to the same collective reality. You can go to the same websites. You might differ again on what you think of them, but you can experience that. You can go to sports websites. In terms of our reality, you can enjoy sport and play sport. You can go to news websites. You can be interested in the news in our reality of daily experience. And as in the China example, what they do is they cut off connection to the Chinese people of what they can access on the internet. So they can only access what the government wants them to access, because they don't want them seeing things that would make them see the world differently to the way the government wants. Symbolically, that is what is happening in our experience of this matrix in this world. We are being manipulated to shut out areas of knowledge and understanding which would get us to see the world in a different way to what the governments and the Illuminati, through the governments, want us to perceive and understand. It's the same thing. We're being shut off from access. So we're receiving, through being logged in through the DNA, etc., the computer, into this collective reality, this holographic internet. We are being locked into a collective reality in which we see the same scenes, and while we interpret them may be different, but we see the same scenes. We're experiencing the same reality, the same internet. The only difference is it's far more sophisticated, and we perceive it as three-dimensional through holographics. This is an article about DNA I came across. From the characteristic form of this giant molecule, a wound double helix, the DNA represents an ideal electromagnetic antenna. On one hand, it is elongated and thus a blade which can take up very well electrical pulses. On the other hand, seen from above, it has the form of a ring and thus is a very magnetical antenna. A DNA is a receiver-transmitter of information, and we lock into the internet, the holographic internet, the matrix, through this DNA connection. And one of the key reasons that the Illuminati are obsessed with bloodline is, what is bloodline? It is a DNA code. What is a DNA code? It is a computer code. It carries information, it carries knowledge, and it carries other stuff that they want to pass on through the generations to these Illuminati bloodlines, because it gives them a greater fix on the nature of things, a greater fix than the general population get. It's a software program. It is a a hard drive, if you like, of information which they want to pass on to their bloodlines and stop the people getting. And they therefore have understandings, natural understandings and natural connections that we don't have. And it's through this software program, which is in itself, it is a frequency, a particular frequency, that they connect to these interdimensional beings, entities, that through them manipulate this world. They're operating on different frequencies, but they're manipulating this one through these Illuminati bloodlines, because it's all about tuning in to frequencies, etc.